Good afternoon, and welcome to the Carolina Codecast, the official podcast of the Carolina Code Conference. I'm your host, Barry Jones, and with me today is Joey Loman. Say hello, Joey.
Good afternoon. Glad to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us. You are a highly requested guest on this show. You are into absolutely everything under the sun, and a lot of people in the area right now will know you for SynergyMill. And so tell us a little bit about SynergyMill and how all that got started, and you know what y'all do, and just for the audience that doesn't know a lot about it yet.
Well, hey, thanks for asking. So SynergyMill is basically, it's a big room with tools in it. It's a makerspace. It's a community workshop. It's a DIY shop. We do, there's all sorts of different names for it. Fab Lab. We are an actual Fab Lab. It's an MIT project out of MIT, a network of makerspaces,
Fabrication
and we happen to qualify for that. Yeah, we're a fabrication lab. And so, for a monthly subscription or, donations or whatever, just stop by and you can make stuff, fix things. We have welding equipment, carpentry equipment, a bunch of 3D printers, laser cutters, sewing machines, vinyl cutting machines, electronics tools. And so we do everything from robotics to drones to furniture, refinishing furniture. We start small businesses here. People come in with an idea, and usually they're like, hey, I figured I could sell these on Etsy, and so I'm making a couple of them, and now I got to hire somebody, and now we're, catch you all later because we're shipping internationally and, start a real business. So we've had about 14, 15 businesses that have started out of SynergyMill.
That is fantastic.
As, either hobbies or some of them were, everything from super low tech to super high tech. It all kind of comes through here. And so we could see a lot of very, very interesting projects that people try, and we help them do that.
That is really cool. That's quite legitimately right on the hub of innovation, of helping people build stuff. And so, for me, as somebody who's never done any like fabrication work, I've dealt entirely with software my entire life. If I had like an idea for a product or something like that, or if I had something at my house that was a piece of equipment that was broken, I could come in there, I could pay my fee, and you have all the equipment, and you'll be able to show me how to use it and everything too.
Absolutely. Yeah. We help people fix things. We help people learn how to do CNC milling. We have classes for that, classes for welding. If you want to, discover welding, we're not going to turn you into we're not going to get you a welding job, but I can tell you this, that, you can make a lot of money with, as a welder at the welding job, but you can make a lot more money if you weld art. And you don't have to be a good welder. You just have to, have some talent doing art. So, weld a bunch of metal together and stick it on Etsy for $1,000. And, if it's, good, of course, if people will pay what they want to pay. But the thing is that all of that stuff is here. And, we have multiple thousands of dollars worth of welding equipment and welding gear that you could come in and, just strap up and go.
Wow. Yeah, I've never done any welding, but I've thought about it on a number of occasions. I'm always trying to find some hobby where I can work with my hands when I actually get free time one of these days. and for whatever reason, I've always been kind of drawn to the idea of getting into welding.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that, because the shop has all of the tools, we see a lot of crossover. It's not just woodworking, but, some people will 3D print some parts that they will include into wood projects or 3D printed parts that go into electronics projects. There's a lot of Raspberry Pi, small PC, that kind of stuff going on, and you can 3D print boxes or all that kind of stuff. So there's cross discipline, right? You can cross things up. It's not like the Woodworkers Guild, which is a great place, but you can only do woodworking there. Here you can, you could build a table, weld the legs on it, and do the epoxy river down the middle of it. So you got all of those technologies and all of those arts that kind of converge here that you get to try.
That's really interesting. And you're right here in Greenville, of course. And so
Yep, downtown.
And so y'all have been around for how long? But a little over 10 years now?
Yeah, so the idea started, it was back in like 2010. We started the Greenville Makers Group, 2010, 2011, somewhere. I don't remember exact date. And then in 2014, I actually put an idea out on a website called What If Greenville.
I remember that.
I may remember that.
Orange Coat guys built that, didn't they?
Yes, the Orange Court guys did. And so I put this idea up there of, hey, what if Greenville had a network of makerspaces where people could go and do projects and all this kind of stuff. It was 2014. And that particular post happened to be the most looked at, most read, most shared, most commented post on What If Greenville over the years. And so I figured I had a really good thing going. And then the Greenville Makers Group kind of just didn't quite work out. We had some people that just weren't quite on board. And so Doug Cohn, you might know him. He and I, we picked it up and said, hey, we're actually going to pull the trigger on this. We're going to be, we're going to do it. So that was when the Next organization in Greenville opened up the Next manufacturing facility. So at the time, there were several Next organization facilities around town. There was the Next on Main, where OpenWorks is. There was the Next on University Ridge, which is the Innovation Center. And then you have Next Manufacturing, which was specifically for manufacturing businesses. So this building is basically a co-working space for small manufacturing companies, like Huwaki and Behringer was one of them. They did brakes for light sport aircraft here. And there was us. And we're just these kids who like to play around and just, have fun and make stuff, and we burn things, and we just goof around mostly. So we happened to become the first tenant, surprisingly, the first tenant in Next Manufacturing. And so that was in 2015. And so over the years, we've just kind of really dug in here. We've expanded a little bit. Shop is now up to about 3,500 square feet. And it's just a fun time. Of course, Next has changed all of their stuff. So the building is called Next Manufacturing, but the Next organization really isn't involved as much as they were before.
That's really, really interesting. And I know the very first Carolina Code Conference was actually held in that building.
Oh, wow.
In the Next Manufacturing building. It was over there when it was in a co-working space, Brickyard, that was right next to it. And so I know a lot of people got to kind of walk over to SynergyMill during that. And I've gotten to come over to SynergyMill a couple of times. Never made anything over there before. I'd like to change that one day. But it's really interesting to know that you've got all this high-end equipment there. And because I don't know anything about 3D printing. Yeah, I know my kids have like a kids 3D printer that has like certain toys and everything that they can make on an app, just kind of get them exposed to how it works. And supposedly you can use that to make other stuff. I have no idea how to even get started with something like that. And if I did, I wouldn't want to use the little bits of plastic that they give us to make these toys with. And so what type of stuff could I make with the 3D printers at SynergyMill?
Wow. It's absolutely amazing. There's things that you can make with 3D printers that you cannot make any other way. It's an additive manufacturing process that you can create things that are mathematically based, things that you can't mill or carve or produce any other way, which makes it really unique to make some really awesome things. Now we have a bunch of 3D printers here. Actually, we just got a donation of 3 large format resin printers. And there may be some more of those coming. So that gives us 4 resin printers here. Nice. And then we have a very large format Fusion 3 regular plastic FDM printer. The workhorse of the shop is a little Prusa Mini, which is just absolutely amazing. You just drop your thing in there, it's a 1-button go, and it just does it, and it gets it done. Most 3D printers have historically been the project, right?
Yeah.
You buy the 3D printer and you put it together and you try to get it to work and all this kind of stuff. That's the boring part of 3D printing. The cool stuff is the cool things that you can make. So one of the fun things we do around here is we can scan you at high resolution 3D scanning and put you into a video or an editor, a 3D modeling editor, and turn you into a Pez dispenser.
What?
Yeah, super awesome.
Oh,
and that's a fun thing that we do. Prints you right out and snap you right on top, and you get the candy dispenser. So that's
awesome.
fun. And one of the cool high tech things inside there that I almost alluded to was that when we put you into that editor, we have VR headsets and stuff here, so we can actually put your 3D model into VR, make edits in VR. So expand your model up to room size, walk around it, and say, oh well, hey, his glasses need to be moved this way, and let's cover that part up, or if this won't print good, or there's an error in the model, let's fix that. And you can actually, with your hands and arms, and interact with it, make it bigger, smaller, turn it around, and then you dump it back out to the printer and print it out. That is just some absolutely amazing technologies.
Yeah,
that's a basis of advanced manufacturing, and we're just toying with it. But it's the basics that will help you develop things, spacecraft parts. We can get into doing CubeSats and those kinds of things that have really high technology stuff can show up doing that kind of thing.
I mean, so if I was getting into doing a 3D model that I could print, like what type of software would I use for that? Is there any free software you use for that type of stuff, or?
Oh yeah. Now, one of the things about me is I don't like to spend a whole lot of time learning stuff. I don't like to spend, wrestling with things. I want to get something done. And especially if I'm doing it for money,
right.
Like I need to produce a thing. I need to get it done. I need to build a model. I need to print it out. It needs to happen. I don't need to be fussing with the tool.
Absolutely.
So, I use Tinkercad, tinkercad.com. It's an Autodesk product, and it's free and it's super powerful. It's almost like super simple, like Legos, but then you figure out, well, hey, you can do some really complicated projects on this in 3D model them, and you can actually animate them, and you do all sorts of physics experimenting with them. I mean, it's super powerful. And you can export that stuff out, drop it right into the printer, and hit the go button, and turn it into a real object that you can hold.
Wow, that's really, really incredible. So I know we've kind of talked back and forth. My son is in a Boy Scout troop, and I've thought for a long time it'd be really cool to bring the troop up to SynergyMill and do kind of a tour over there, because I think especially when kids are younger in general, just giving them an idea of what is out there, if they had an idea or if they wanted to build something, would be cool. And there's like an invention merit badge and a vendor merit badge that they can kind of work on. It seems like they'd be able to do a lot of that stuff there to kind of go through the prototyping process of building something. Do y'all have like a lot of open houses or tours and everything that you do for the facility?
Oh yeah, at least a couple times a month we'll open up the shop and open house, and we'll promote it on Facebook and Instagram and blah blah blah, LinkedIn and blah whatever. And we're here a lot of the time. This is not my full time gig, but this is my most of the time gig.
Right.
And people just stop in and, hey, I was in the area, or I want to check this out, and stop in and take a look. We do have the room is an interesting room. You mentioned about exposed to this kind of stuff that spark creativity. Of course it does. And you walk into the room and it's like, wow, I can do all of these things here. And then there's the ugly flip side to that coin is, wow, it's an intimidating room. There's so much here to do. How can I possibly do it? And, getting somebody to get into just making something simple and having the joy of that. It's the same joy for an 8-year-old kid who drew something and his mom put it on the refrigerator. That same joy shows up when you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old making a thing. And it comes from the heart. I created that. It was thought, and now it's a real thing. And now maybe it's a gift that I came in and I laser cut a sign to give to my wife or my girlfriend or mom or whatever it is that, for Christmas. And now you created something, you got that joy, you're going to give it away, you create more joy. It sparks innovation, and it sparks creativity, and it sparks wanting to actually do it and get it out into the real world.
That's really cool. It's great to have that out there. And no facility like this is available. So, so you and Doug started back in 2010, you said. And so, before 2010, what were you doing?
Well, I'm at the end of a 20-some year career in television production. I'm that career has a video engineer, building television studios, doing
television studios.
Directing. Correct. Yeah. So, multi-camera video shoots. Here recently, I built, because of the pandemic, this is kind of fun. Because of the pandemic, there was a company that did corporate training, and they invited me, or hired me really, to come build studios in their trainers' homes because they could no longer travel. So for 2020, 2021, I went around and built multi-camera video studios in people's homes so they could do corporate training. But on the bigger side of that, I've worked at some large facilities, large churches, a telephone company, building television studio, television equipment, and then of course teaching the camera operators how to do their thing, and directing and all of that kind of stuff, television video production, and as an editor and a producer. So yeah, that was what I did kind of on the side in the last 25 years. Before that, I was a director at a telephone company in Kansas City, Missouri called XOP of Missouri, and I was the network architect. And we were one of the first telephone companies to roll out DSL in a community. Wow. And that was a fun thing. All high-speed data, 140 channels of digital television, which is actually where I got my start in television production. Was I built a studio there there for the TV. Yeah, there's a path that kind of went through that. Back in 1995, 96, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, I had the choice of either going to work for a cable TV company that wanted to get into telephone services, or a telephone company that wanted to get into cable TV services. And so I chose the telecom company that got into television services, because that was kind of my college degree was in computer science and telecommunications, and some engineering stuff. So everything is going to data, right? It's not analog TV anymore. It's all data, and that's where I got my data start as a network engineer.
Wow. Well, any fun stories from all that kind of work?
Oh man. There's all sorts of fun stuff that happened back then. You may have heard of a company called MCI. It was a telephone company back then. And I started doing some stuff with MCI, and it was a company called Telecom. And what we did was it was the cutting edge. This was back in like 1993, 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. We had the idea of combining one service for internet services, telephone services, pagers, because there was pagers back then, long distance services and all that stuff. We put all of that together. We became essentially a rebuilder, and the company was it was a network marketing company that we put all the stuff together, and we got it going, and MCI was doing their thing, and we were doing our thing. And one day I called up to MCI. I was like, "Hey, I need to talk to my rep about whatever." And they were like, "We don't know who you are." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't know who I am? I'm the, this and this and that. We talk to your boss." And they were like, "No, boss isn't here." I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Who is there?" And they were like, "Okay, here's the thing. your whole project disappeared. The attorneys came in, they took all of the documentation, everything, and they fired everybody that was involved with what you were doing.
What?
Yeah, and it was gone. And so Telecom Communications was like, okay, we've got all of these customers on internet and telephone service, and we're billing and all the fun stuff. And so, boom, it disappeared in a blinding flash of light. And
Wow.
that was a surprise. Yeah, man. That's what happened.
Goodness gracious.
But I found another, the other exop of Missouri, and we went and we overbuilt the town of Kearney, Missouri, which is had about 2,000 some people, and we actually bought a building and we put in a Siemens Class 5 switch. We overbuilt the town. We didn't resell anything from anybody. We were the first, actually the first telecommunications company that was tariffed as an incumbent telephone company. We weren't in competition with anybody as a competitive local exchange carrier who, those guys resell stuff. Like they go to Southwestern Bells. Hey, I would like to buy these lines and then we'll sell them under our name. But we didn't do that. We actually, when somebody ordered our service, we sent out a guy in a truck and we dug up their yard and we dropped in, telephone cable to the house, and then sold them internet services, which we ported back to Kansas City, back and forth from Kansas City to Kearney. And that, if you understand anything about how telephone companies make money, it's by terminating phone calls. And so at the time, we floated the whole telephone company on internet services, dial-up internet services from town that terminated in Kearney, Missouri. So, yeah, a whole bunch of people calling us made Sprint and Southwestern Bell pay us to terminate the calls for internet services. And that's how we floated the telephone company.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a fun time. And we overbuilt the town with a fiber to the node system. And we hadn't quite figured out Ethernet yet. So the transport was ATM, asynchronous transfer.
I don't remember
back
ATM.
then. Yeah, so there was a lot of ATM stuff. Yeah, so it was just a different mode of transport.
Okay.
Packets got chopped up different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, and then of course you got our service. You got 2 telephone lines and 140 channels of cable television and 10 megabits of Ethernet, all to your home on a set-top box.
Solid deal.
And that was in 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
2001. So we were at the time, we were probably the most high-tech telephone company in, this end of the world.
Before you were doing any of that, were you involved in like BBSs or anything, like the dial straight and BBS?
Oh, yeah. Oh, buddy. Yeah, 1980, 82. I actually started 1980, 81, 82. I got my first computer. It was a Chem 1 single board microcontroller.
Okay.
And that morphed into a Commodore 64 and then to a TRS-80 color computer, which is a really cool machine. And I met a guy at high school, David Wallace. That's a good name. His name was he was the Penguin.
Okay.
And I was Ski on the bulletin boards, and he ran a BBS on a Commodore 64. One telephone line coming in to a modem, and he had had a disk drive there and all of that. But this was back in the day when I had a Commodore 64, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have storage or anything. It was like I had a tape cassette deck maybe eventually came along. But when I first got it, I didn't have anything. And so for me to get on the bulletin boards and run the little modem, it's a 300 baud modem, I had to type in and write my terminal program that opened up the port and sent characters and read the port, displayed them to the screen. It was only like 4 lines, no big deal. But to get onto the BBSs, and he ran a BBS called a DX Logbook BBS, which is an amateur radio themed BBS back in the day.
Okay.
And so I became an amateur radio operator back then. This was back, yeah. I am, yes, still am. General class ham, and do all sorts of fun stuff. Listen to the space station as it rolls over, nice. And yeah, we did packet radio back in the day and all that fun stuff.
I didn't mean to segue away from the
yeah, no problem. So yeah, it was those were fun times to watch all of that stuff start happening. And I built robots back in the day. Of course, there were no kits back then, Lego Mindstorms or anything like that. No, we had to go to Home Depot, and you bought the materials and you sawed it up and you screwed it together and scraped and just found motors wherever you could find motors, and we used me and a buddy built a robot arm that was controlled by the TRS-80 color computer, and the Commodore 64. There's probably some pictures still rolling around on the internet somewhere. We won all the science fairs.
Nice.
In 80, 84, 85, 86, somewhere. So, if the 80s ever comes back, I will be high tech. But
I had to ask about the BBS. That's actually where I got a lot of my early interest in some of the stuff. Is there was a store in Florence, South Carolina called CompuForce. It was basically the computer store in Florence, and they had a list of BBSs that they basically kept like a directory of the phone numbers for a bunch of different BBSs in the area. And when you go in there and you buy your 14 4-baud modem to plug in, and you dial in, and as a kid you could dial in, you could play these games once a day, and other people who were on would go in and they take their turn dialing in one at a time, play their daily turn of the game. Like I'd have friends over and they'd spend the night and we'd wait till midnight, and we'd all take our turns on the dialing in and doing our turn on the BBS, and we would go through every single one of them. We'd play our games on every single one of the things, and it was real competitive. And at one point we started getting really good at one of them, and we started taking over one of the games on one of them because we kind of found a little bit of a hack to a technique to it. There was an old game called Usurper that was on these things, and we figured out there was some character structure that you could use on the games on those BBSs that was it could beat anything. And whoever ran the BBS got irritated because we were killing everybody else. And they actually watched us play it to figure out what we were doing, and then they kicked us off.
Nice. Do you ever do any hacking? Do you ever do like any war games dialing or anything like that?
God, I wish I could say I did, but I didn't actually get into anything on the actual programming side of technology other than just gaming until I got to college, and it just wasn't anything that I ever got into. I always, I want to get into it now. Like the cybersecurity stuff fascinates me today, but just never really got into it.
Or you haven't got caught yet. Is that what you're saying?
No comment. What?
Yeah. Oh man, I got a story on that one.
Oh goodness.
So yeah, back I was in high school, actually a junior high, and a buddy of mine got a TI-99 4A, and I got the Commodore 64, and we both had modems, and of course we prone to getting in trouble as kids do. We discovered that Sprint had these long distance codes, and you could war games dial these codes. You dial up the number and you give it a code, and if you got a busy signal or didn't go through, that was not a good code. So you just increment the number and do it again. Well, my buddy David, different David than those Davids, his dad got a phone call from Sprint. It's like, hey, somebody at your house made like 10,000 phone calls last night. What are y'all doing? And so I'm over here at my house doing my thing, because I would hit the Sprint codes and then get into these networks overseas to download software for my Commodore 64.
You're on the way to being
Commodore was like Commodore 64 was big in Europe and not as much here, so they had fun stuff. And so David came to school the next day and he was like, got caught. like, what do you mean he got caught? I was like, he came and they took my computer.
Wow.
So he got in trouble,
really
and I happened to not get in trouble because I just didn't do that night. And so David got caught. I didn't get caught.
Oh, gosh.
And so that was back in the day. And then we ended up at the University of Missouri in Kansas City, where I went to school.
Okay.
Of course, I was doing the same kinds of things back on BitNet. If
I don't remember
you
BitNet.
remember BitNet back then. There were all universities were on because it's TimeNet, and we get on that, and I actually
So
had
what was BitNet?
because
I'm not familiar with BitNet, and I doubt our audience.
it was a network amongst a lot of the colleges, and kind of an offshoot of the ARPANET kind of a thing. It grew into that.
Okay.
It was more for educational institutions and those kinds of things.
All right.
To get everybody connected. And, it was, we had a VAX 11780. It was the size of a, semi truck. And we'd get on that and, talk to people all over the world. That's cool. And, it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. And it was back in 86 is when I was doing that. And BitNet would fit the whole network. They printed it out and it would fit like on a 24 by 36 plot. back then. So it was, watching all that stuff develop over the years has just been a great journey.
Yeah, that's the truth. And so, and there's a couple books that if you haven't already read them, I bet you would love them. But Kevin Mitnick did these two books, Art of Intrusion and Art of Deception, and he basically catalogs stories of people who have done this type of stuff and either gotten caught or just were willing to talk to him about it. And it's very similar to there's a podcast called Darknet Diaries. It's a very popular podcast where he interviews people who have, gotten caught doing hacks and they've come out of prison and they're able to kind of talk about everything that they've done and other people who are, just on the penetration testing side. It's really, really interesting stuff. And, I remember at one point hearing a story similar to that where they basically got into AT&T's systems and were able to, just completely control the phone systems to do whatever they wanted to do. What is the term that freaking with a PH?
Yep.
That sounds.
Yep. Freaking. Yeah. Back in the day when you had in-band signaling and, you could blow the little whistle, a 2600 hertz whistle.
That's
and,
right. You could just
actually,
make the sound.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that was in-band signaling that could do that. We built red box and green box and all those kinds of things. But by that time, there was out-of-band signaling with, between switches. So, there was the path that you talked on and then the path of the data that controls the path that you talked on. So they were separate. Those digital lines, when they went from the analog stuff over to the digital, things completely changed. So you couldn't signal within what you were talking, the line you were talking on. So kind of ruined the fun for everybody. It's what happened there.
Depending on which side of it you're on, I guess. It's real fun. But yep. So what got you into being a ham? What got you into the radio side of things?
Talking to my friends was one of them. The allure of, hey, you can talk all over the world. And, we did some of that. But the cool stuff was the packet radio stuff. Did a lot of that. Digital communications.
So talk about it a little bit because, I've gotten in a thing recently where I keep discovering that a lot of the smartest people I know are also hams on the side, and they just neglected to mention it at some point. And nobody talks about it much, but I'm really, really fascinated by how you get into it, what you end up doing with it. Because I don't know, the very first time that I heard about it, I had this picture of basically just having like a big old radio sitting on my desk and just sitting here just listening for people coming in and going, "Yep, I'm here." Was that basically what it was like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, the thing that really attracted me back then was I was part of like a storm chaser group.
Oh, nice.
And we would go out and we'd watch for storms, and then you could radio in. We do taking care of emergencies if there was a natural disaster or those kinds of things. Amateur radio operators, right? If the telephones go down, if the electricity goes down, all that kind of stuff, the hams are the guys that have the generators and the communications and all of those kinds of things. So they can get information in and out, and that's one of the services that amateur radio operators provide, getting information and passing messages all around the world. And it's a very resilient network of service providers. And so I got in for that kind of thing. The experimentation aspect of it, as a maker, having access to all of the electronics information. I mean, because amateur radio is all about, when you get, you take the test and so forth, and you learn all about electromagnetic stuff and antennas and communication modes and how to communicate, and even in some of the digital modes, which will give you, it bridges straight into computer science, into telecommunications. So I think that the kind of people that usually end up in as hams are those that really love to experiment, really love to figure things out, and really love to kind of expand in those directions, and that gives you an opportunity to do that and hang out with people who do, which is really fun.
It's one of those things that surprises me a little bit. As prominent as radio is in our daily lives, you would think that it would be taught in high school at this point, because it's so ubiquitous. I mean, every cell phone, every satellite, and they're all just using radio. And you think radio, you think CB radios or the radio in your car. All these things are working on radio waves. They're doing different frequencies, and they're doing different protocols over the frequencies. And then you got all sorts of regulation that it decides who can talk on what ranges and all the other crazy stuff that goes along with it. And it's all really, really fascinating to me. And it just seems like every nerd should know a little bit about it. And I say that as somebody who doesn't. And I've always kind of wished that I would have. And I've heard, and apparently it's possible to build like a little crystal radio. And I have no idea how to do that, but it seems like something to be fun for a scout trip to do at SynergyMill.
Yeah. Crystal radio is basically a big loop of wire and a diode and a speaker.
Really?
It's essentially all it is. And the electromagnetic waves are moving and so forth, and you tune the length of the wire. And what happens is when, the alternating electromagnetic waves happen, the diode just lets half of the energy go through and comes out on the speaker. And that's pretty much it. And so now you can listen to the fluctuations of electromagnetics with just that one little component. And that it's a absolutely great starter for getting into what's going on. And then, the technology now is software defined radios. So it's no longer in hardware anymore. It's all in software. And you can listen to nearly the entire band of electromagnetic frequencies all at once.
Really?
And instead of tuning, and special antennas and so forth like that. There's some extra technology. It's not as simple as a loop of wire and a diode anymore. But there's, you instead of tuning and listening to one station at a time, you get this waterfall, and you could see where on the spectrum somebody is talking or something is happening, and then tune in and listen there if you want to listen there. So there's the technology now is so advanced, and is advancing every day. And the thing is that old guys like me that have been through, watching all this stuff develop, there is no preparation. I have to learn something new tomorrow, just like somebody who's,
right.
The youngsters, right? So it's not about what you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's really about how fast you can learn, how fast and how you exercise that curiosity, and you get in and you jump in to find out, to discover what you don't know. And those kinds of things, that's the skill. It's not in the history. It's not in all the stories that I have to tell, albeit they were fun. None of them prepared me, for all the new stuff that happens. If something new comes out tomorrow, I have to learn it just as fast as some of the younger folk do.
Yeah.
And if you listen to like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He's encouraging all of these kids to pick stuff up. Let's monetize Instagram. Well, I'm that's not my thing, But they're becoming millionaires off of the new technologies because they stepped in and they embraced them, and they didn't have to know the history. They didn't have to know all of the stuff that we went through. They just had to be curious and motivated and put forth the effort and get it done. And that's really the key.
Curiosity and motivation pretty much sums up every good programmer, every good tech person that I've been around. I think that is very much the qualities that make it up, because you've got to be interested in constantly learning new things, because that's all the field is. And when it comes to technology, it's constantly changing. And so you've got to be used to constantly learning that stuff. And if you're looking to get into a field where you learn something once and do it over and over and over, technology is not that.
No, it is not.
And,
it is not.
Curiosity and motivation. That might be the title of this podcast episode, Joey.
Here you go. And no better place than at SynergyMill, where we lower those barriers and give you those access to where, hey, you bring your curiosity, you bring your motivation, we can help you make something,
exactly,
help get it done,
right?
Help figure it out.
So talking curiosity and motivation, you mentioned software and special antennas and everything to get into the ham radio stuff. So, or do you have like any recommendations for something like that if somebody wanted to get started on a path down the radio side of things?
There's all sorts of resources on the internet. They're everywhere. Adafruit has some kits. Okay. There's of course you can take a breeze down the Amazon path and see what all is available there. But everything is well documented. Nowadays we have access to like the entire archive of human knowledge. We didn't have that when I was a kid. We had a phone book, and it was this thick. Right. So now you have access to everything everybody knows, and you can find it easily. So type into that search bar, hey, what's the best way to do a thing, and you'll find those answers. I have favorites that I go and I buy from, but there are so many options available. It's just a matter of doing a little research and asking the questions, and stuff is out there.
Nice. So, in addition to, let's see, we've gone through network architecture in Missouri, starting SynergyMill, all the stuff you can do at SynergyMill, TV production engineering, being a phone hacker back in the day, ham radio. Let's see, what else haven't we covered? So I believe you told me that you were into robotics as well.
Yeah, back in the day, I did. I built some robot arms, built some mobile bases, built little turtles.
Turtles?
Yeah, it was a turtle. It was about this square, and it would run around in a box, and would hit the edge and back up and turn, go and hit the edge and back up, and
nice.
Yeah, it was, and I crafted it from scrap wood and a couple of motors that I scrounged out of, at the bin at Radio Shack, and it's just experiment, put it all together, and then wrote the software on a Commodore 64 in BASIC. So those kinds of things happen. Nowadays, I don't do as much robotic stuff now, but all of the stuff that's involved with that, we do here. And I end up, it's the microcontrollers are the same kind of microcontrollers. The motors are the same kinds of things. And all of that stuff is like super readily available. I mean, for, $20 on Amazon, you get all the stuff and put it together. Whereas, before, a long time ago, you had to make it.
So, you've got this giant circuit board behind your head over here. Like, what does that do? Yep, right there. That's the one.
Oh yeah, that is a motherboard out of an old computer that I actually drilled a hole in and put a clock mechanism in. So it's a clock.
It's a fancy clock. Nice.
Yeah, and it just hangs out. I
was just
think
curious.
it's an old Pentium board. And yeah.
All right. And so recently you've also been pretty involved in trying to get people meeting together again, working together again, pursuing their ideas. And there's all this post-COVID energy in the area, especially to kind of get people back together and to following their passions and innovating everything. I know you've been involved with some of that with Hat Greenville Labs. And I believe you were also pretty involved with Filmicrating and the beer and napkins initiatives that are out there. So do you want to talk about any of those or both of them?
Yeah. The thing is that it's not about what you know, and it's not about who you know. It's about who knows you in the world today. And the thing is, you have to get out and you have to meet people, and people need to meet you. And you need to if you're a top of mind of somebody, then you have access to, if they have an opportunity, they can call you in. Or if they have something to share, they can call you in. So it's about, networking is fundamental to creating the kind of communities and the cultures that we have, and the bonds and the friendship, and then we create stories together, and then we do really cool stuff. And maybe I don't know anything about a particular topic, but you might. And if you and I get together and we have, we start thinking together, we want to do a project together, creativity happens, and then friendship happens, and then, maybe, we start hanging out. Maybe, I don't know. There's the possibilities start. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so it is. Phil has done an absolutely fantastic job, and a great concept with that. And I helped him start that, I don't know, years ago. We put all that together, and it's been through several iterations, and it's growing. But the thing is that the whole business plan is to get people together having conversations, which is what the whole the ecosystem. You hear the entrepreneurial ecosystem, all that kind of jibber jabber is all about people getting together and having conversations. That's the extent of it. And if you've ever read the book *Sapiens*, which it'll blow your mind.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah,
*Sapiens*.
Yeah, *Sapiens*.
You might have to because that's one I'm going to include in the show notes.
Yeah, Noah Harari is the guy who wrote that, and it's basically it's about culture and how society developed, and there's a lot of anthropology in it. It's politics in it. It's really good. But one of the basic fundamental things in there is that language is the thing that defines stuff. Companies exist in the language that they were defined in. How we communicate and the intimacy of our conversations defines the relationship. And so that's what the whole ecosystem is about. You hear about the entrepreneurial ecosystem and drawing maps and having directories and all those kinds of things. But what it really comes down to is networking people together, because people are the ones that control the resources. People are the ones that open up the opportunities. People are the ones that are the connection. It's not the company per se, because the company exists in the conversation of the people. So the whole thing about beer and napkins is let's get people together and have those conversations. SynergyMill was the thing about SynergyMill was let's get people together and have conversations and fun making things. And I think during the pandemic, it was very destructive to all of that for all of us, because we couldn't get together. We couldn't have those conversations in a personal way. I mean, we were, like this on video, right, which is very disconnecting. So getting people together to further fun and conversations and business and opportunities. Getting people together is very fundamental to that, to create the culture that we want to create, especially here at, with your Napkins, with SynergyMill,
Right.
with Hack Greenville, because really awesome things happen when we get people together and they come up with ideas. Quick side story on that is we had the drone guys show up with the 3D printing guys for an event one time, and they created a drone, 3D printed the bodies, and then they had them sent out to make carbon fiber frames, and then they had kits, and they sold these kits to schools for, learning how to do drones and stuff. So
Really?
that was a random thing where we got people together, they started having a conversation, and what ended up was kids got an opportunity to learn about the technology, the high technology. Drones is probably the pinnacle of all of the technologies put together, right? It's got the robotics, it's got computer stuff, it's got navigation, it's got GPS, it's got all of it, radio. I mean, everything. So that is a thing when you get people together and you're having conversations, and you can have somebody bounce off of you ideas. That's where those random interactions is where super creativity happens. And BR Napkins is one of those venues in which Bill gets artists together. He gets engineers together. He gets business entrepreneurial folk together. And what comes out of that are partnerships and ideas and relationships and friendships and the stuff that really matters between people and having friends. And it's not about the toys and the technologies and all those kinds of things. It's about the personal relationships that we have and the culture that we grow.
Absolutely. And so I'm definitely going to be having Phil on here at some point. We had to reschedule. He was actually supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago. But what about Hack Greenville Labs? I know, HG Labs has been something I've heard about in the Hack Greenville Slack channels for a while. I've seen a lot of civic tech projects. I think they just kind of rolled up a lot of what they're doing under the Refactor Greenville umbrella that is sort of been formed. And I know that I saw a lot whenever we had the that Hack Greenville Nights event recently, where some glowing frames had been produced as signage for the event. I think those were made over at SynergyMill. So I know you've been involved with that a little bit. So talk to me about Hack Greenville Labs.
Yeah, I've been involved with Hack Greenville for, I don't know, a long time. Jim Chialella and I have been buddies for years, and we share the same kind of let's get people together. Let's lower the barriers of between people, and let's gather together. Let's move forward on projects. Let's move forward on things. And one of the cool things about Hack Greenville Labs this last summer was that somebody popped in and said, "Hey, we got some kids that want to learn 3D printing and coding and so forth at local high schools." And the group, there was a whole bunch of people that just jumped in and mobilized programmers and engineers and makers like me, and we all got together and we did this program for these schools over the summer, four different schools, and I think really made an impact on some kids. And what I didn't know at the time was that these were kids that were like, their next step was juvie. They weren't like the really smart genius kids that were, staying after school to learn something. No, these were like the kids that were fighting and were at risk and had troubles at home and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that at the time. So, we just kind of went in and treated them like they were smart kids. And it was absolutely amazing that Hack Greenville Labs was able to pull these people together, just programmers and 3D printing. We all together developed a curriculum, a week-long curriculum for these kids. And then we, as volunteers, went in and taught it. And it was absolutely amazing to see these kids take to the programming side. They programmed a logo language, Snowflake, which we took and we dropped into Tinkercad, and from Tinkercad we made some modifications and dropped it into the 3D printer, and we made tops, like spinny tops, from the math to the thing to the spinny top, and then they had races to see whose top spun the most. So it was this whole progression of concept that was brought together by bringing the Hat Greenville folk together and bringing the kids together. And that knowledge transfer happened, and the encouragement happened. And I think there was, some of those kids are just absolutely like super brilliant off the scale. They just don't know how to control it and point it. And it's just getting around people like the Hat Greenville Labs folk that could make an impact on them. And that's
awesome.
The whole purpose, right? It's how do we help and be influential in people to turn their life into like something super positive for them.
Absolutely.
Because we both know you can hit 8 weeks of code school and get a great job.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so these kids didn't know that those things were available. And so that was just one of the things about Hat Greenville Labs that really stood out to me, and made an impact on me personally, this last summer. But it's about getting people together, sharing ideas and sharing opportunities, and making an impact on the world.
Yeah, it is.
Not just making a thing, but really shaping culture and really shaping society and really shaping friendships and really shaping what really matters.
How can somebody get involved with that if they want to do a project like that? I mean, are there any future opportunities coming up for it? Was that a pilot project or what?
That particular one was a grant that somebody happened to get. But the thing is I have one requirement and one expectation for people who work with me, and the one requirement is show up.
Yeah.
That's it. And the one expectation is I expect you to not do worse than last time. So show up and incremental improvement. That's the basics of that there. But here's the thing: just show up.
Goes a long way.
The workshop is here. If you don't show up, we can't get anywhere. So the workshop is here. The tools are here. The all of the opportunities are here. It's just a matter of just get over your dang self and show up and interact, and things will happen and things will grow out of that. And opportunities get shared and concepts get shared. And that's the thing, is really just show up, and Hat Greenville Labs and Refactor Greenville and those other things, and Beer Napkins and SynergyMill are all about getting people together and having conversations, because that makes our culture richer. It makes opportunities open for everyone. It's a super important thing.
Absolutely.
And it's what I really enjoy. It's just getting people together and have a good time.
I think you have been nominated as the spokesperson for that now. But speaking of nominating people, is there anybody that you can recommend that we might need to have on this podcast at some point, who's doing interesting things in the area that are worth talking about?
Oh yeah, I got a couple.
All right.
If you can get Olivia.
Oh.
Olivia Sully on. She is super awesome.
I've been trying to
super
get around
creative.
forever.
Yeah, I'll nudge her that direction. But she took on the initiative of actually linking the side door for SynergyMill up to Slack. And so when you unlock the door at SynergyMill, there's a message that shows up in Slack that says, "Hey, the door's open." And did it in like an afternoon. Absolutely amazing. So there's some knowledge there that you can get from her. And she's really amazing, a lot of fun.
Nice. Who else do I need to talk
Doug Cohn, if you can get Doug Cohn on there too, if you get him to hold still long enough. Super cool dude.
He's always known
very
he's
cool.
Working in the video game world now. Last I saw, he has run the gamut of interesting career. stuff at this point. I think he's about my age, but I've got to go. I've got to go check that out as well.
I think at one point I nominated him for something about successful Greenville people under 35, and I think he actually got nominated into that.
Nice.
So he's a celebrity of sorts.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Well deserved. Well deserved too.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're kind of at about our hour mark here. Is there anything you want to close out with?
No. Except, hey, come on down to SynergyMill. We're going to have some open houses this month. We got some really cool projects that are happening. We can help people figure things out and really have fun doing stuff. You can meet folk. That's my sales pitch. But it's about getting out. I know Hack Greenville Labs is going to have some meetups coming up, after hours stuff. Want to make sure that you keep an eye on that. Watch meetup.com or wherever they're going to be posting those. But really the underlying thing is be a friend, be open, come participate, make those connections. There's a lot of people that want to meet you. If you're listening to the podcast or you're watching me, there are people that want to meet really cool folk like you. So please come out. We would love to meet you.
All right. Go check out SynergyMill. Joey, thanks for coming. I've got to give my weekly shout out. Thanks to Herd Media for helping me get this podcast put on in the first place and for all your advice and guidance. If you're looking at starting a podcast or you're looking at doing one professionally where you need a company to help support you in the production environment for everything as well, give Herd Media a call, also right here in Greenville. So thanks, guys, for that. Thanks for coming, Joey, and hope you had a good time. This has been the Carolina Codecast.